This is our final breakout session. What we're going to do after this is have free ice cream available as a social over here in the room behind us. And I encourage you to visit once again with the exhibitors that are set up over there. They're very excited to talk to you today. Let's welcome back Andy Flinchbaugh. He's going to talk about real world pathways to diversification and certification. Andy, come on back up.
All right, everybody, thanks for being here again. I was hoping that this session this afternoon here could be more of an interactive session. So anytime during the speech you have questions, please fire them out. I think just to get things kicked off, though, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I was asked to talk about our regenerative certification process. So one of the things that kind of drove us to looking at getting certified regenerative over maybe, and specifically through, because if you're not aware, there are multiple companies that you could choose, multiple private companies that you could choose to get certified, your operation certified regenerative. One of the things that led me to Regenified was the fact that in my journey in learning about soil health, and this could be a name that many of you know, so Gabe Brown, I've listened to Gabe Brown and listened to some of the things that he says. So Gabe Brown is behind this certification. Dr. Alan Williams is behind this certification. I felt there was a lot of credibility in this company specifically, and I had a lot of trust and faith in the longevity of working with this specific company. One of the other things that I did like, they are the only, as far as I'm aware, I think it's on their website if you go, they are the only company that is recognized by the federal government that recognizes their regenerative certification. So that gave me a lot of hope that, like I mentioned before, us getting certified regenerative through Regenified is more of a proactive approach to set us up for a future opportunity to market some of our products at a premium. But it gave me a lot more confidence that if the federal government was recognizing their certification, that this likely could be the certification that was going to give us an opportunity. I guess, any other questions as we go? There again, I think I did mention it. The one thing I really like about this certification is the fact that it's an outcome approach. It is not a rigid set of rules that you have to follow. When we were certified organic, if we questioned anything, if we were going to put a product on, even if it was ARMR approved, we had to go through our certifier, we had to get permission. And as a farmer who just likes, probably like many of the rest of you, just like when you're operating, you're in the moment, you're in the middle of planning, you're in the middle of taking care of whatever, your crops, your cattle, your animals. The last thing you want to do is call somebody and have to ask permission if something, you're allowed to use something, if it's going to meet. Then you got to wait for an answer and like, oh my God, the time's kicking. So like the whole rigidity of the system was something that just really turned me off of being certified organic, where the fact that the regenerative certification is an outcomes approach where they're looking at soil test data, biological data. They will be testing in the future on our farm and any farm that's certified, nutrient density data. So they're putting a lot of data behind the certification. But they don't care how we get to that end. So long as we get there is their thing. And that's what I really appreciate about that certification. I guess I had also thrown up here a few slides. I guess they call it, Regenified calls their certification a 634 standard. The 6 stands for, and this is debatable. I mean, NRCS talks about the 4 soil health principles. Regenified likes to talk about 6. They believe there's 6: context, disturbance, armor, diversity, living roots, and livestock. Livestock is something that they really like to see on your operation. In my particular operation, we don't have livestock. We don't currently have a plan to have livestock on the farm, and that didn't hold us back from getting certified, because in conversations with them, they do not hold anyone hard and fast to have livestock as part of the integration there. The 3 that they talk about, let's see here. They have 3 rules of adaptive stewardship that they talk about, and then 4 ecosystem processes. So those are the 6 principles that they like to see you to follow. The 3 ecosystems is the diversity. How is it? The concept of diversity, the concept of compounding, how everything works together, then synergy, and then the concept of disruption. And then the 4th is 4 ecosystems processes, which is energy flow. That's energy use. They are looking at and tracking our energy use over time, and we're encouraged to really keep an eye on that and actually have plans in place to decrease our energy use over time. The water cycle, the mineral cycle. The mineral cycle would be fertility inputs. We are on a path. Becoming certified regenerative puts us on a path to decreasing nutrient inputs, and then the path towards diversity as well. So then I think when we first got interested in certifying, and the reason we wanted to be certified is because we're doing this stuff already. And I'm like, you know what? If we're doing this already, why not put ourselves in a position to benefit from it if necessary? There is a cost to it. They will have a certifier come out, and the cost is in paying their way out to your farm. I think if we had 2,000 acres, they pulled soil samples from. They take like 33% of your fields randomly and select them, and then pull samples from those. So the cost is for the samples, the person to do those samples. We had to put together a cropping plan, and then yearly we will have to submit to them our pesticide records, our nutrient management records, our energy use records, which honestly are, at least for us, was fairly simple to put together. Go ahead.
What are they looking for in those soil samples?
Yes, so the soil samples that they pull are Haney soil tests. And what basically they're using those for, it's like everything they took for us this past year would have been what they called benchmark tests. So it was like the first test, and then they want to see positive trends going forward from here on out. And then based on where we fall, they put you in different tiers. So you could be tier 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Every 3 years, we are required to have increased in our tier rating. So after our first year, we ranked tier 3. We are 78% of our way. This is their report card. So they actually sampled. So that verified. It was more like 50% of the acres that we farmed. They verified. They verified 930 acres. The entire operation is certified, but we're 78% of the way towards being ranked as tier 4. And you can see the areas of ranking there are in context, disturbance, diversity, living root, livestock, and water. And then those other areas of mineral, energy, and community. I don't know. Aside of just reading those, I can let you look at those. But that's kind of how we ranked. A bunch of them are actually listed as, what did they call it? They called it either passed or benchmark numbers.
I have a quick question if nobody
Yeah.
else does really quick. Also, if you do have a question, raise your hand so we can bring a mic to you. That way it is a big room, even though there's less people in here. My question is, if they want you to increase every, you said 3 years, is there ever a point where it's like, you've done everything that's on our list? Or like by then, do they expect we'll have some new things on the list? Or like, how does that work if, like, is there a top level? Just because I feel like that could be a challenge, especially for some of the farmers that I know would potentially be interested in this, is like they're already doing a lot of these things. And so I think it would be challenging to find.
Yeah, so
Continue.
tier 5 is their highest tier. I think from what I understand in conversations that what I've had with them was that once you get to tier 5, then you've got to, at that point, you have to maintain. Steve Groff, I don't know if you know Steve Groff, first year in tier 5, so that, to your point, there you go. Yeah.
Question was about, you said they randomly select 33%, like a third of your farms or acres. I feel like that could be a challenge. Like if they're only doing a third of them and then they're tracking over time and they're not going, is it the same fields every time? Just because if it's random, I feel like, especially here in Virginia, like the soils are so variable, the management histories are so variable that if you pulled a Haney test on example, our farm on a third of the ground, and then the next year, if you just sampled the wrong third, it could very well decrease.
We're gonna find that out. That's excellent question. We're gonna find that out as we go. I'm not sure. I mean, when I was certified organic, we only had 100 acres certified, so we essentially were a split operation. I had to segregate stuff. I mean that added a major layer of complexity. We had to have record keeping for cleaning out the combine, record keeping for cleaning out the sprayer, record keeping for cleaning out the truck, and procedures on how we were going to do all these things. So one of the reasons we made the decision to certify the entire operation was the fact that I am not dealing with, we're either certified or we're not. I don't have certain grain that is certified, certain grain that's not. Every time I run a different grain through the grain dryer, I got to clean it out. We don't have to worry about all that. Yeah. Yes.
When you first applied for the program, did they look at what your existing and historical land use is as a cropland manager, current cropland manager, to qualify you as a regenerative farmer? And I'm more asking because I have clients coming to me that are trying to do what they think is regenerative farming and converting historic forest land into cropland or pasture land, and they're calling it regenerative. Is there a regenerative definition?
So no, and so I mean their regenerative definition would be their 643. The 6 soil health principles. Their 3 whatever they're called. So no, they're not looking at past history. They're looking at drawing the line the day we sign up. We're drawing the line the day that inspector comes out and pulls those first samples, and then it's wherever we go from here that day. Yeah.
So I'll just say then, if it was going from a forest into cropland, they're going to have a hard time making it, potentially, depending on how it's managed, like increase, if that's how it was starting. So that could be definitely a challenge to this.
There's no issues. One of the biggest questions that I had, the fact that we lease 75% of the land that we put crops out on. So, my biggest question was, and we have 1-year leases, we have 3-year leases, a couple 5-year leases. That's pretty long. But, my question was about, certifying land that you had control of for 1 year. And they had no issues with that. That was not an issue with their system. To them that didn't matter.
Do you have a reasonable prospect of an economic return for this certification? Is the folks who buy your grain going to pay you more?
As of today, no. Their cost, and it's all based on the amount of time they're going to spend on you. But I mean, my cost on my acres came out to about somewhere between $3 and $4 an acre. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking I need to pull $3 to $4 an acre of value off of all of my acres. As of today, there are no prospects. Yes, but I think when there is, if I'm not certified, until I get certified, someone else will take that market. Yeah.
So if you have, let's just say of your 930 acres, you don't have livestock, but say a farmer did, and half of it was in livestock production and then crop, could you be graded on both? So could your crop ground get graded at a 3, and then your livestock ground, your pasture and your hayland get graded at a different grade? Does it have to be the whole farm?
The whole farm, in my interpretation of what conversations I've had with them, it would be your entire operation.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
I think y'all can hear me.
Hold on. It won't be in the video recording. You don't put it in the mic.
Yeah, I was trying to give you a break. If there does become a market available for the certified regenerative, is there any plan for the Regenified company to help connect you to those markets?
Yeah, and I should have mentioned that. So that is another reason that I went with Regenified. They're working behind the scenes to try to build these markets, to try to connect. I mean, and it's one of these cart ahead of the horse ahead of the cart thing. In order to build up a buyer's going to want a promise of a certain amount of supply. So I guess, being the early adopter, that there are no markets now, we've got to get enough people certified in order for any kind of buyer to have confidence they'll have consistent supply of a certified product. But yes, they're working behind the scenes. It's their job then to help connect those buyers to myself or anybody else that's certified. Yeah.
I was gonna say I've seen regenerative organic, like certified regenerative organic products in the store, and I'm like waiting to see something that's just regenerative, not regenerative organic.
Yeah. That is my big fear. That so there are organizations that are attempting to get regenerative organic recognized as a certification by the federal government, and the federal government has recognized organic, but they have not yet recognized regenerative organic. And personally, my belief is that, I think many of us have proven that you can be regenerative and not be organic. I think we've all, and I think that's the basis of this certification, where it says, listen, if I'm organic and you're not, we can both achieve the same ends, get to the same results, but do it different ways. It doesn't have to be limited to organic to achieve good regenerative farming practices.
What is the disturbance through tillage?
Disturbance through tillage, so that would be whether we are using tillage or not, and what level of tillage we're using. Yeah. I think pesticide use is on there. Yeah.
So yours is a whole farm plan, but are those partial farm plans as well?
There could be. Well, and so that's an excellent point. So it's, for us, It's all of our row crop acres that are certified. We actually did not certify our orchard or our produce. And that's an excellent point. So, and we chose, at this point, we chose not to certify those products that we're selling through our farm market. It's of our opinion, when we looked at this, we don't feel that our customers that are coming into our farm market need to see a label that says it certifies that the apples that they're buying in our market, the pumpkins they're buying in the fields. So it's that whole, the local sales connection to us, and the connection and the relationships that we've built with our local customers already has that taken care of. We created that transparency where they trust what we're doing, so a certification isn't necessary for that. Potentially, the apples that we're marketing to like Hess Brothers or Rice Fruit Company, where they're turning around and selling those to Giant and Wegmans and whatnot, I think there could be an opportunity for us in the future for that. They're currently not asking for that, and that was another reason we didn't want to do that. The apples were something we were getting greater value out of anyways. We were really looking to hopefully stimulate a little bit of a market premium for a commodity crop where we all know that's not at a place of great marginal return right now.
So is this designed specific, like more towards crop production, not like specialty crop production, you would say? Or do you think like if you wanted to get it certified, it would work?
It's designed for anything. I mean, Steve Groff has his tomatoes, which he's marketing into Whole Foods. Now, I have a feeling Whole Foods is probably giving him some credit for some tomatoes. But no, it could be designed for anything. If you felt that the certification could benefit you and add value to whatever you're growing, yeah, it could be a fit.
Do you organically grow your apples?
We do not, no.
So that's not part of your whole farm program?
No,
Got it.
no, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you tell me how to grow apples, okay?
Get people to not care about what they look like.
Oh, you're right, yeah, yeah.
All right, I have 2 more questions for you. If nobody else has any. Anybody else have one first? Because I want to get preference.
And I'm open to questions on anything I presented earlier, not just the regenerative certification, yeah.
Any other questions? How long did it take you from the time you were like, I'm going to do this, to like, you're certified?
So I think it was about last year at this time that we decided we were going to do it, made some contacts. Immediately we set up a date with our inspector. They came out. We did some I sent a bunch of information to them electronically. The inspector came out sometime in June and did all their testing. And I think it was August or September we had our certification. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good selling point, is that it's quick, because sometimes like you experience with organic certification, it can be tough.
It can take a while. I mean, it took us forever. I mean, you'd submit these plans and then they'd be like, well, they're not good enough. So you'd have to modify them. And you send it back. Oh, well, now we need all these plans. And it's like, oh my God. I mean, and the thing about the organic was, saw a couple years, we didn't sell anything because we had full crop losses some of those years. Yet we were just getting hounded on to supply them proof of all the things that we did. It's like, I didn't sell a damn thing. It's like, I lost my ass on it. But
My other question is, I see succession plan on there as something that they rate, which is very interesting. I think I love seeing that.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, like, what did you have to submit for that? Or like, what is their, I think I know what their goal is with that, but you tell me, what was that?
I don't think that was anything too detailed. Like we had to submit a 10-page plan of what our suggestion. I think when they came out, we did an interview and they asked some questions about it, and we had, we were working on a success.
Pretty much like, have you thought about this?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. I'd have to encourage you to go to regenified.com to check it out.
Do you think the next barrier to entry is X number of certified acres at X tier to be able to transition that into a marketability standpoint for a a consumer or a buyer?
I think the tier is going to depend on. That's an excellent question. I honestly don't know if the tier is something that is concerning to the buyer. I think the fact that you're certified, what the tier does is it holds us accountable to always looking to do a better job. And I think that's where that falls into. I don't think the tier level hits the actual buyer itself.
Yeah, secondary question on that was, my brain just went blank. Anyway,
No, you're good. If you remember. Anybody? Oh, we got another one.
I will say it does seem like I think there's some opportunity. We don't raise cattle, but I think there's some opportunity to potentially market. There's some buyers out there looking for protein products in the beef world for regenerative certified. So, I mean, it's an area that I'm missing out on because I'm not a cattle producer. But I think there could be some possible opportunities for me if we did have cattle and we're certified organic.
It seems like there's a lot of hands in the pot. Like, I know everybody has their own specific roles, but it's a lot of hands in the pot for your operation. At what point does it get like we have too many ideas for added value? Like, how do you whittle out the things that you want to do for added value? Because there's a lot of things that you could do with the diversity that you have. So how does it work out with everybody that you only do a few things and not everybody's pet projects along with it?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question, and I think the gentleman here had asked about some advice, and I talked about our business plan. So, that business plan is something that my brother and sister and I, the three of us as owners and operators of the business, we put that together. And, we really use that to guide us in really looking at, helping us decide when we take a step down a different path, if you will, to make, so there, we've had those discussions. And then, I mean, like when we're talking about the regenerative certification here, these are discussions that, as we get together regularly, have meetings, if I'm bringing this to the table for our cash grain operation, then I'm presenting that to my family, and we're having those discussions of whether or not this is something that meets our core values, meets what our goals really are. Kind of goes from there. It gets cumbersome. I mean, the bigger you are and the more people you have involved, you become a bigger ship. Bigger ships don't turn as fast. So yeah, that's an excellent question. Yeah.
Do you have any way of doing any I don't know, I'm thinking with your value added, especially in the market and other things. Do you have some way of analyzing even I don't know if you got, I don't know, people talking about surveys or getting input or doing market feasibility. Have you done any of that? Or has it been more let's try a little bit, see how it goes and go for it? Or
yeah, most of the things that we've done, when we took over, when we started our apple peeling and slicing and drying business. So we had been taking our apples to a farm and having had that done. We were taking them for 1 year, started going back, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm retiring, but hey, my business is for sale." And we're like, "Oh, geez, okay." So we're looking at it, we're like, okay, so we didn't want to own the apple cider equipment. We don't want to own it all. I'll put it that way. It would be too cumbersome. I mean, this might be a little to your point. It would be too cumbersome. So that opportunity kind of fell in our lap, if you will. And then at that point, beyond looking at our business plan, we actually looked at we put a marketing plan together to see what this could look like, where we could take this, what kind of revenue opportunity was there with this business. I mean, one of the things that we we give some value into and being diversified, and then even diversifying a little further from where we are currently is, there's six children in the next generation, and what we'd really love to be able to do, number one, we actually have a requirement that anyone that wants to come back and work in the business has to work somewhere else first. So that's the first thing, 2 years away from the farm. The next thing is, we would, and it might not be where they fall the rest of their life, but we want to have a place in our business that they could maybe step into and run and manage, that Uncle Andy's not overseeing, or that, they're not under the thumb of any one of the older generation. So they can come in and feel like they're running a part of the business that's theirs, if you will. And then, it develops and goes where we do from there. But, yeah. Yeah, so one of the reasons we got rid of our hog operation, so we had limited head storage to start with. So we had total capacity for 1,100 head. And that was in 3 different buildings. So typical hog barns today are built to about 2,200, 2,400 head. So we were about half, which worked a little bit to our favor, because oftentimes there were, at clean outs of these farrowing houses, they would end up with about a half of a fill. Our buildings were old. They were 50 plus years old, and we were putting a lot of maintenance into those buildings. And when we looked at the contract hog, it was nice because it was consistent. That income was consistent. We knew it was going to come in. But when we looked at our actual return on investment for the amount of time we had invested, for the little bit of money it actually was in our entire operation, we felt that we could repurpose those buildings into something that created more value for us. Yeah.
I had another question of, giving your cropping overview. You talked about snap beans. So I'm just curious, how you got into that, how it fits into your crop rotation. We're always talking about if there was only another crop that we could grow here. And I know it's all driven by markets, but I didn't know what that was and how that worked, because that's not something you commonly see, at least not here.
Yeah, so I'll just talk about a couple of the reasons why I really like snap beans. So snap beans are a 60-day crop. So they're a short crop. You put them in the ground, and pretty much on the calendar, you can put it 60 days later, they're going to be there picking them. Growing snap beans allowed us, we don't own the harvesters. We grow 150 to 200 acres of string beans every year. So I don't have the scale enough to own my own harvesters. So the people we grow them for supplies the harvesters. So that's 150 or 200 acres of ground that I don't have to run my combine over. I don't maybe need a second combine, or I don't need a larger combine. I don't need bin storage for the grain that maybe is going to get grown on the ground. So it really fit in well with, the dominoes just become bigger at that point for us, for that crop. Being a short day crop, it allows us to, if we're planting, we can plant it behind wheat, so it gives us a higher value crop we can put as a second crop. If we're growing it as a first crop, it gives us some ground we can really throw some diversity at. We'll grow string beans. We'll plant them oftentimes at the beginning of June. They'll be harvested the very beginning of August, the end of July. We'll stick a really high diversity summer cover mix in there, and then we'll no-till winter wheat and get wheat going into that cover mix then, for next year then already. But so those are the reasons I really like it. So I'm always, you got your nose to the grindstone. You're bumping shoulders with people when you're trying to ask, hey, if you're ever looking for somebody, you go to these meetings, you run into them, you hear things in the wind. It's I need to just give my card to that guy, and that's kind of how it happened with us. And we're trying to do that with other things. The vegetable, some of the specialty crops are tough, because if you want to no-till them, some things just aren't a fit, and that's just our personal take. We don't want to do any tillage, so it's something that limits us in what we do. But always having your nose to the grindstone and putting yourself out there. Yeah.
Are the string beans planted seed or how are the slips?
Planted as seed, yeah. Corn planter.
Have you been able to utilize any grants or low interest loans?
Yeah, so, I'd have to say the biggest leap of faith we made was when we built our farm market. I mean, we made a $600,000 investment at the time, which today would probably be twice that. But that was a big investment for something that we had done a lot of projecting, a lot of planning in our business plan. It was just like there was somewhat of a hope and a prayer there. So we had went through. We got traditional financing through Farm Credit for half of that value, and then the other half we got through our local York County Economic Development Authority. Had some very low interest rate loans that we got on the other half. Kind of did some strategic, creative financing that way. But yeah, I mean those things are key.
Final call for question.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Andy.